You're listening to the Reds Podcast.
This is episode number 30. Being married is a lot like being in a business partnership. Laurel and I will be married in about 6 weeks. Because of that, we've been getting a lot of advice for marriage and also for partnerships. We're going to share some of that with you on this episode of the Red Podcast.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money. Work less and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
Laurel, you're back from Toronto, back at Red HQ.
I am back from my vacation and I got sick while I was there.
Got sick on the way up?
I got sick like the moment we landed. I didn't tell this to my friend who I was there with, but the moment I landed, I was like, I'm going to be sick.
See, I was sick here in Nashville while you were gone.
It was you. You got me sick.
Well, I was thinking you got me sick.
I was thinking the airplane got me sick until I heard that you were sick. So it was still a blast up there, but it's just not fun when you land and then you get a sore throat and it just turns into all this sinus stuff. So now I feel fine right now. I just sound kind of nasally. So we're just going to roll with that during the podcast.
Rolling with it, man.
Yep.
Yeah, Red waits for no one. We have a schedule.
We have a schedule. We got to put out some content, man.
Absolutely. And this one's going to be really interesting. We're going to do another two-parter this time. You and I, we're going to be married in 2 months.
Almost 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Not a lot of time for me to wrap up loose ends on that one.
Absolutely. It's a brick wall. We are just headed 100 miles an hour toward it. It's coming closer and closer with each passing day. One of the things that we did before you left for vacation, we went to go see I'm going to call him the minister, the man who's officiating our wedding.
Let's just call him the man.
The man.
The man.
And the man, here's the deal. We're in Tennessee. We're in the buckle of the Bible Belt, and it is very important for the people here that we have a successful marriage. And before you have a marriage license assigned to you in Tennessee, you have the option of getting premarital counseling. If you do, they basically cover the cost of your premarital counseling by giving you a discount marriage license.
It's kind of like student driving, right?
Yeah. It's like a discount on your insurance rate, and the thing pays for itself.
Yep.
So here we are. We have an option of getting the full price marriage license, or because we're into self-development, I think it would be interesting to go to premarital counseling. We hadn't really thought about it till we had the option given to us, but it sounds exciting to me.
I think it'll be fun. It'll be something different.
Yeah, we'll get to know each other in a different way, and it's fodder for the podcast, I suppose, which is what it is here today, because the officiator, the man, we asked him about it, and he explained it to us, and he gave us a little bit of paperwork just to kind of get us thinking about it. I thought it would make a great podcast because it's by a woman named Amy Cunningham. I have no idea who this woman is.
Yeah, I never heard of her.
But it says marriage advice, secrets to a happy marriage. And this is the kind of thing I'm assuming that you go over in a premarital counseling situation. She's given us a list here of, 43 things. These are the secrets.
43? That seems like an odd number.
Yeah, it's a ton of stuff. There are a lot of secrets in a happy marriage. But when I looked through them, I said, this is another advantage of being an entrepreneur. I said, I've already been through this stuff with various business partners. I'm ready for this.
So it seems like what's on the sheet is things that we could apply to business partners or to life partners.
Absolutely. And we're talking business here because Red Podcast, of course, real entrepreneur development. We're not giving marriage advice here. We don't know a thing about that because we've never been married.
Never been married. We can give pre-marriage advice.
Right. We can maybe get you there.
Yeah, we can get you there, but we can't get you past the brick wall.
Yeah. We don't know what's going to be like on day one or after.
Nope.
So I want to go through this list with you. Again, this is part 1, episode number 30. If you're interested in part 2 after you listen to this, it will be available at redpodcast.com/31. So here's number 1 on the list of secrets to a happy marriage. We're going to call it secrets to a happy business partnership. Never assume. That's number 1.
That's a good one. I wrote a blog post once that was called Telepathy is Not a Strategy, But I think so many people think that, oh, they know what I want, they know what I need, and they just assume. That's like the worst.
Well, I see it happen in different ways. A lot of times you go into a business partnership thinking that the person you're going in with wants the same thing that you want. And then obviously you're in there with them and you don't communicate what it is that you want. So it can happen even before you even start the partnership. You just make the assumption. Have you ever done this, Laurel? I always assume when I see somebody like, oh, yeah, they're my age. Oh, yeah, they've been through the same experience as I have. They want the same thing in business. They're working as hard as I am. I've made a lot of assumptions with business partnerships over the years. Almost all of them have been wrong.
Business partnerships, I think, are harder than relationships, but that's just me because my last business partner called the cops on me. So, I'm not really one to speak, but assumption will get in the way.
Yeah.
If you just assume the other person works in the way that you work, I mean, that's a big one because you and I, David, we work in completely different ways.
We do.
And if you just assume that someone else is on your schedule and on your time and is going to hit all your deadlines without communicating any of that, you're not going to be a happy camper.
I had the cops called on me once in a business dealing. And we should do a show about that sometime. I think that's I don't want to get too far off the track here of the secrets to a great business partnership, but
yeah, because we haven't had one with those partners.
We should talk about having the cops being called on us and what happens when that happens.
Yeah.
So number one here, never assume. I think that's important. I think it's important. This is one of the reasons that I really love. It's almost like having a prenup. For business, you have an agreement that says, here's what I want out of the relationship, here's what I want the business to be, and here's what's going to happen if the business goes to hell and everything doesn't work out like we think it's going to.
I think agreements are essential because that's what we did before we even started this podcast. And this is just a podcast. So this isn't like a full blown thing. But, we sat down and we said, this is what you're going to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is what we're trying to put out there and getting on the same page and getting out, what's in our heads about how we see this podcast going. And I think that's really essential to do.
And we've renegotiated a few of those things. It's, again, not assuming you bring up things to me and I'll bring up things to you as well. And we say, hey, I got into this. It's a little bit different than I thought. Can we renegotiate? Yes, we can, or no, we can't. But one of the things that we did was we set a timeline. We said we're going to do it for this amount of time, and here's how many episodes we're going to do per week, and here's what we're going to do as far as the scheduling goes, and here are the, I guess we'll call it tasks. You're going to do this, I'm going to do this, and we pretty much set it up like that. It's fairly clear. Would you say it's pretty in-depth?
I think it's pretty in-depth with who does what. And for partnerships, I think it's great in business partnerships is to, instead of getting together and every time you're together discussing, what we're going to do next and if you've done this or if you've done that, it's just you make a plan of what you're going to do, David, what I'm going to do. And then when you come together, you discuss results of what has been done. And that saves you a lot of time. But that starts with getting really clear and not making an assumption that the other person's going to do something or that you're supposed to do something, but getting really clear on it and then discussing results when you get together.
Right. Absolutely. So number two, Laurel, compliment more than you criticize. Obviously, that's something that you hear all the time when it comes to marriage advice or relationship advice, but maybe not so much in a business sense. But I think that's a good one, and that's the reason I left it in here.
No, I think you're totally wrong, David. I just absolutely disagree. No.
Well, hey, have you heard there are other partnership, we'll call them, podcasts, where people get in arguments all the time, and you just get the feeling like people are working through therapy on their podcast or in a public forum.
And they might be.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen at live events.
Ooh.
Where you'll see a couple similar to us, just somebody will bitch the other one out, and it's embarrassing. And it doesn't leave you with a really great feeling. Everybody's looking at it like, ooh, man, it's like a train wreck, It's like you kind of want to watch it because it's interesting, but you also feel really weird about being in the middle of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be awkward on a live event.
I do think that's a good one. Just in general, compliment more than you criticize. But I will say this, that I think it has to be a genuine compliment. I think that people receiving the compliment can tell if it's BS. We've got great BS detectors built in as humans.
You do have to be genuine, but I also think that it's important to pick up on the little things. And I'm going to switch back to our relationship, David, because that's something that I really think about with you and living with you, is that you don't have to do something extraordinary for me to give you a compliment. If you take out the dog, I'm like, oh, thanks for taking out the dog today, and things like that, because I want to be always focused on the positive parts of this relationship and what we do here. And even though it's a little thing and most people wouldn't say a compliment to somebody for doing something so small, I still think picking up on those small things, whether you're in an actual relationship or a business relationship, is really important because it keeps you focused on the positive. And so it's not so much for the other person that you're giving that compliment, but it's really for you to focus on the positive and stay in a good state of mind.
Speaking of focusing on the positive, number 3 here, he says, each time you vent about your business partner to your friends, tell 3 positive stories. And I think that absolutely would be beneficial as far as having that unified front, assuming you want to keep the partnership going.
Yeah, you have to stay focused on the positive, because if you go to negative town and you hang out in negative town and you're always complaining about your business partner, it's just not going to last very long. And what I would say is that anything you say to other people about your business partner, you say it to your business partner, because your friends, your family members, whoever you're complaining to, they can't fix anything. They can't change anything. And you need to deal with it directly with that person instead of trying to triangulate your situation.
Yeah, don't let it get out of hand, because it can do that very, very quickly. Laurel, number 4 on the list, remember that it's okay to do things differently. And this example, of course, for marriage, there's more than one way to peel a potato or fold the laundry. Of course, I disagree with that, because the one way to fold the laundry is your way.
It's my way, because you don't fold laundry.
Absolutely not, and I don't go inside the kitchen. So that example is wrong. But from a business perspective, I think that it's great. There's the old saying that if you've got everybody in the room agreeing with each other, you don't need all those people in the room.
Yeah, find a different room.
Yeah. Well, I think about our dog, a mountain cur, which is a mutt breed. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I don't know if a mutt is a breed, but a mutt. He's a mutt, yeah.
It's a mix, but a very, very smart dog. And the reason the dog is so smart is because you've got all those different types of dogs coming together, and it's like Darwinism. The strongest aspects of the dog survive, and it gets passed on. Same thing can happen with your business. The strongest aspects can survive, and that comes from looking at different ways of doing things.
I think this one for me is definitely easier said than done, because you like the way that you do things, and you feel like the way that you do things, and I'm speaking for myself and probably other people here, is that you feel like your way of doing things is right. And it's easy for us to say, other ways are right as well. And there's a lot of different ways to, quote, peel a potato. But when you're in the middle of it, that can be a challenging thing. So I have to always remind myself in our relationship, or in a relationship with a business partner, that, their way is right as well, and it's right for them. And so how can I look at it from that perspective and not think they're doing something wrong, but just think that they're doing something different? But it does take some work on my part.
What I try to do is check my ego at the door, put the business first, and look at it from that perspective. What is going to help the business move forward, either because of cost, efficiency, quickness? What's going to help the business move forward? And it doesn't necessarily have to be my way. Here's another one, Laurel. Number 6 on the list. Marry someone you both enjoy listening and talking to. And what I thought, as far as a business example, is just hire people that you like.
Absolutely. I mean, be around people in your business, whether you're business partners or not, or whether you're just surrounding yourself with other business owners, but people that you actually enjoy and you get along with. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, you've got to spend a lot of time with the people that you work with. In my business, coming from the music business background, sometimes you spend more time with your bandmates than you do your family, So you've really got to like those guys when you're sleeping with them. Well, that sounded bad, didn't it?
Yeah.